Hello and welcome to the first tutorial of this series. We're going to be making a 3D asteroids game, a space shooter, whatever you want to call it, and it's going to be a full mobile working game. We are going to be starting with the user interface, so we just have a good looking menu. If I click the play button, we are going to transition to the level select button, the map number 1, and here we have 6 working buttons which we set up dynamically, and we already know which button we clicked in the debug.logs. And if I click on the menu, we're going to transition back to the main menu. So let's get started. To actually develop an Android or iOS mobile game, we have to go to the file and the build settings, and then once it opens up, you're probably going to have the build platform, the PC, Mac and Linux standalone. So we want to go to Android and click the switch right here, the switch platform button. If I go to iOS, you might have to download the open download page right here and then click the switch platform. This is everything you need to do. So let's get started with the game. And as always, you can get this scene and the end scene from the links down below, including all the assets and whatnot we're going to use in the next couple of tutorials. Let's start by just making the skybox look better from the get-go. So go to your skybox folders and then to skybox 2-1 and then the 2-1 right here, and just drag and drop this in your scene. And now if you double click on it or just click it, you can see in the inspector the skybox 2.1 appeared. And now if we drag it over like to, let's say, okay, let's make it 200, we can just see a nicer looking, better looking skybox in our game view right here. Let's next up create a canvas. So right click in the hierarchy, go to UI and create a canvas right here. In the canvas scaler, we want to scale with screen size, and then just set it to up to 1280 by 720, the standard HD resolution, and set it up to match width or height, and then go to the width, and also go to the canvas, right click on it and go to UI and create a panel, and let's call this panel the main menu. And what we want to do in here, we just want to right click on it again and go to UI and text mesh pro. Let's make it look a little bit better, and I already played around with the text, so just scale it up a little bit like this, and select your rect tool, alt click, and like that. And again the same, and just drag it down a little bit more, and let's call this game, let's say Asteroids 3D. Yeah, center it like that, center it like that. And what I have in here is just a face color with this hexadecimal code. I'll probably still change it a little bit. Then I have the outline checked and 2.2, and the underlay to these values right here, and the dilate 2.4. And we also want to scale it up, let's say to like something like 70 or even like 80. And this is our game title. And let's rename this to game title or menu title or just title. And then right click on the main menu again and create a UI element and go to the button. And let's rename this to play button. And go to the button and select the image script right here and select the source image, and I have imported some images right here, and which we can use from the asset store, and just select this image right here. And let's also scale it up, and this is the button image, and also change the button script to sprite swap, and when we press it, we also have a button pressed right here. So now let's scale this up a little bit to 250 by, let's say, 100. That's too big. 250 by 80. And then click on this here and direct transform, hold your shift button, and then click on the bottom right so that the pivot point changes also. And then let's just go down here and let's drag and drop it in here and look. Okay, let's make it like minus 100 by 100. Okay, this looks pretty good already. Go to the play button and rename this to play button, I guess. And to the text, and let's change the text to play. And for the font, obviously Roboto Bold as always, and the color is going to be a plain white color, and let's add also a shadow and go to like 4 minus 4. I know we could use a text mesh pro, but let's just make it like a little versatile. And then the font size, just scale it up to like 50, I guess. Okay, that looks good. Now go to the main menu and duplicate it. Okay, rename the main menu. Let's call this the level menu. And now for the left right here, we want to just change this up to 128. And then to the right, the negative 128. Now we can see two menus next to each other. And what we want to do, we want to dynamically just like go and switch over these menus like this, basically. The user's gonna see this. So let's also disable the image component here on the main menu. So we see two different menus, and this is how it's going to look like in the game view. And now if I go to the canvas and right click on it again and create an empty game object, let's call this menu container. And just reset it to 0. We don't need anything else. And then drag and drop the level menu under there and the main menu. And let's make the main menu on top. And now if I go to the menu container and change the position, we can see that the menus start slowly going to the right. And then we can go backwards. This is how we're going to change the menu type that we just look at as the player. And so go to the level menu, and the title is going to be map 1, let's say. We might have different maps. And then the play button, we don't really need that, or let's just leave it here for now and call this next map button. And just type in next like that. Okay, now duplicate the next map button and rename this to main menu button. Click on the main menu button and then click on the rect transform again, hold shift and put it and anchor it to the bottom left right here. And now if we click on the next menu button, we see minus 100 and 100. And now go to this and go just like 100 and 100 right there. And now we have it at the same position. Go into the text and change this to menu. Let's make it all in caps right there. Awesome. So now we want to still create our levels. And so go to the level menu and let's create a empty game object. Again, reset it to 0s, and let's rename this to level container. Under the level container, right click and create a UI element, and let's make a button again. Let's leave the text up here and go to the button image and go to UI and select, let's select the, where is it? The window 2 right here, okay? Let's resize it to like 100 by 100. That looks good. And go to the text and let's type in the number 1. Go to again the Roboto bolt right here and let's make it white again. Add a shadow. Just again 4 and -4. Whoops, 4. Not this. 4 and -4. The shadow is going to be black. Awesome. And just scale it up to like 50 again. Okay, let's make 60 on out of this. And this is going to be our level button. Let's call this level button. And okay. So now drag the level button number 1 up here, something like this. And then just duplicate it a couple of times. Let's say 5 times. And now the order is important because we're going to dynamically assign the button, the level to it. So it has to go from the top to the bottom right here. And you'll see hopefully why. So just drag these up somehow so it looks decent-ish. Like this, sure. And then the last one, let's make it over here. You can make yourself like a map in GIMP or Photoshop and just drag it over the map so it's perfectly assigned, but I'm not going to do that. So yeah, like that. This is going to be our map menu, our level menu. So just change the button numbers to 2 and awesome. So we have our levels and just drag this to the right. And the map, menus, and everything we want. Just drag this up a little bit. Awesome. So let's set it up in the scripts right now so it works. So go to your scripts folder, create a C# script, and let's call this menu manager. Go to the hierarchy, create a new game object, a empty game object, and rename it to menu manager again. Drag and drop the script on there and open it up in Visual Studio. Let's first up set the buttons. So delete this, we don't need this to set up the buttons. So let's make a public void and let's call this the on play button clicked. In here we're just going to have a debug.log statement for now and just go for the play button clicked. Let's also make a public void and on main menu button clicked. And the debug.log in here is just going to say that we click the main button. The next button we have is the public void, the on next map button clicked. And again, debug.log and the next map clicked. And we also want a function for all the level buttons, but let's set that up dynamically and not like caveman. Now we also want to set up the level buttons, which is the 1 through 6 right here. And let's set that up dynamically. So we just have something different in here and don't have to make 10 functions for 10 buttons. So let's make a private void. And let's call this init level buttons. Like that. And what we want to do in here. So in Unity we have a level container which has all the buttons right here, which is going to be handy right now. So we can just go to the level container transform and then loop through all the children and then get the button script and just add an on-click event through the script right there we have in the menu manager. So let's just do that. So in the init level buttons, we want to simply make a int I is equal to 0 and then a for each loop for each. And what we want to do in here, we need a reference. So let's make a public transform. And let's call this level container. Like this. And now, for each, let's say, transform t in the level container, what we want to do, we want to get the button script. But before we can do that, we have to be using the unity.ui, using unity engine.ui. Now we can get a reference to the button. Let's call this button, and let's make this equal to t.getComponent, and let's make this component the button script, because the component on the button right here is a script. Right here, the button is a simple script in Unity. And once we get the button reference, we want to button.onClick, and we want to add a listener, which is just the plus sign we click manually. And what we want to do in here, we just want to pass it on, and let's make a function. Let's make a private void on level select and pass in a index. What this does is it's going to pass an integer into our function that we have here. So let's just make a on level select and pass in a new number. We cannot use the I because it for some reason is bugged out, so we have to do a I current either index, and let's make that equal to the I. For some weird reason it doesn't seem to work otherwise, and just pass in the current index and then just make I++. And now we have a let's make a debug.log in here, and now we pressed the level button and pass in the index. The index is just the number of the button. So this is the index number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's just how Unity does its children. And so we also need to call this init level buttons somewhere. So let's make a start function and just call the init buttons in here. Like this, awesome. Let's now assign the buttons to the functions that we already have created. So go to the menu container, the main menu, and now the play button. Click the plus sign right here and drag and drop the menu manager in there. And now go to the menu manager and on play button clicked. Go to the level menu, the next map button, and again the plus sign, drag the map manager in here and go to the map manager and on next map button clicked. And the next one is the main menu button. This is actually the last one. Again, the main menu in here, main manager, and then the on main menu button clicked. The last reference is in the main menu manager. We need to assign the level container. So right there, this is the direct transform that contains all the level buttons. Now if we start the game, we should be able to actually click on the play button right there. So let's try it out. Go to the game, and if I click the play button, we should see play button clicked, but we cannot access this part of the menu right now. So to change the view, we just want to rotate this position. So what we want to do, we want to have the end position at 1280 and -1280. So now we can see the map 1, and if we click the menu button, it works. And if we click the level 1 button, we press the level button 0. Now the 3 is going to be 2, and so on and so on. This is just the index of the children, so be careful with the order. So let's go back to our map manager script and let's start coding the transition. What we need for that is a public transform, a menu container transform, and we also need a private int. This is going to be the screen width. We have to dynamically figure out the screen width so it works on all different devices, since our canvas scales with the screen size and is not a constant size. So if I change the landscape right here, if I change this to a different ratio, it should still work after we are done. In the start function, the screen width is going to be equal to the screen dot width, just like that. And what we want to do, we want to transition from this menu to this menu over time. So that means that we are going to use a IEnumarator, which is awesome. But let's first off make a private enum in the class. Here, enum, let's make this menu type. Let's call this menu type, and let's make this the main menu. And let's call this the level menu, or map 1 menu. You might have more maps once we're done with tutorials, or we might even add some more maps, or I'll show you how to. So let's also make a function. Let's make a private void, and let's call this change menu, and pass in a menu type. So a vector 3, new position, and if the menu type that we passed in is equal to the menu type dot map 1, which is to the right, the new position is going to be equal to a new vector 3, and this is going to be the minus screen width, 0 float and 0 float, just as we changed in the editor previously. And else, this is just going to be a default statement. If we get an error or anything, we just want the new position to be equal to the vector 3.0, which means that we just rotate back to the main menu if anything else happens. So now we want to call an IEnumarator, which changes the position or the number of the, what's it called again, the menu container over time. So let's make a private IEnumarator and call this the change menu animation, and pass in a vector 3 and call this new position right here. So what we want to do in here, we want a float elapsed as always, and we also want a vector 3. This is going to be called the old position, and we need to change this from the menu container. This is not going to be a transform, this is going to be a rect transform right here, so that we can access the menu container dot nr code position right here. This is what we want in the 3D space. We do this because if the player hits the, let's say, the play button and then right away hits the menu button, we don't want it to glitch out on us. So we also need a duration. So let's make a public float transition time and set it equal to like 1 float, 1 second. Go back to your change menu animation, and now we can make a while loop. Like while the elapsed time is less or equal, this is quite important, to the transition time, we want to add to the elapsed plus equals the time.delta time. This is quite important that it's the first thing we do in this function, or we can get some glitching or not complete transitioning. So now we want a vector 3.current position is going to be equal to vector 3.lerp, and we want to lerp in between values that range from the old position to the new position, and the amount we want to lerp is the elapsed divided by the transition time, like so. And then just go to the menu container dot nrcode 3d position and set this equal to the current position. And now just go to a yield return null, and this is it. Now we just need to call this, and we want to do it in the change menu function, and we also want to stop all coroutines if anything else is happening right here, like I said, with the user clicking one button and right away clicking the other button. So we just, in case we want to stop all the coroutines and then start a new coroutine right here, and go with the change menu animation and pass in the new position, like so. And this should work. And now we just need to call the change menu function, and we want to do this on the play button clicked. This is going to put us to the menu type .map1 menu. And if we click the on main menu button clicked, we just want to change the menu to the menu type .main menu right there. And this should actually work right now and be complete. So go to Unity, set up some references. So go to the menu manager, and what we want to do in here, the menu container. So go drag and drop the menu container in here, and also let's disable the level menu and the image. Once we start the game, we again see this, and now if we click the play button, it's going to slowly transition over here, and now if you click the menu button, it's going to transition back. And we might even work around with the background right here. So if I click the button, everything should work nicely. The next button doesn't do anything. And we also can change the speed. So go to the menu manager and let's try something like 0.5. And if I hit that, that's a little bit too fast. So go to 0.7. And yeah, I quite like that. So like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below, and I'll have the link to the whole tutorial series in the description down below. And yeah, see you in the next one. Bye.